There's something wrong with the night shift. Third shift, Chapter 1. Lights out. The first thing Ben Dwyer noticed was that no one made coffee on the night shift. Not once. There was a pot in the break room, burnt, ancient, its glass stained brown like old nicotine, but it never brewed. The filters were untouched. The tin of grounds had dust under the lid. They just didn't. Ben leaned against the vending machine at 1:37 a.m., chewing a stale sandwich from a plastic wrapper. His mop bucket sat just down the hall, parked by the stairwell that always echoed one extra step. You'd think someone working 12 to 6 would need caffeine, he muttered. He'd been working graveyard at the Grayson Logistics archive for 9 nights. 4 stories of windowless, climate-controlled concrete. No heavy machinery, just old paper files, ancient HR reports, shipping logs from companies long gone. He was hired to clean it. They gave him a key card, a mop, and a list of floors he wasn't supposed to access. On his 3rd night, he asked Marco about the coffee thing. They just don't like it, Marco said. Marco was the night security guard. Mid-50s, always smiling, always exactly 1 sugar cube in his tea. Too bitter, he added. Ben raised an eyebrow. No one. Marco shrugged. Some shifts get weird like that. Patterns. They don't like change. He said they, like he wasn't one of them. Ben had worked construction, kitchens, and even prison laundry. There was always one universal constant. Coffee. The absence scratched at something in the back of his mind. So did the time cards. There were 8 employees on the night shift roster. 6 Ben had seen. 1 was Marco. The other 5 worked in the records room, always silent, always walking in pairs. Pale, soft-footed. They carried boxes like sleepwalkers. But the 8th, Ben checked the board every night. Wesley, floor 4. Always signed in. Never seen. He asked Janice, the shift supervisor. Wesley takes a different route, she said. Sensitive records, upper clearance. Her tone was warm but off, like she was reading it from a card. Her eyes didn't blink for the full 30 seconds she spoke. Ben remembered that later. On night 9, the lights flickered in Sector 4A. He didn't mean to be there. It was one of the restricted floors. But his keycard beeped green anyway. Door unlocked like it had been waiting. The hallway was colder than the rest of the building. Long rows of file cabinets stretched ahead like pews in a dead church. Dust hung still in the air. At the end of the hall was a single closed door. Manager's office, etched in the glass. Ben stepped forward and froze. The doorknob turned. Click. The door opened half an inch. Nothing came out, but the light inside. It flickered, soft, red, like a bulb underwater. He stepped back. He didn't run. Not yet. Back at the break room, Janice was standing motionless at the counter, staring at the empty coffee pot. She didn't move when he walked in. You okay? Ben asked. She smiled without turning. Everything's fine. You're just watching the coffee maker? Yes. Even though no one ever uses it. A pause. Too long. Then, Wesley does. Ben didn't sleep when he got home that morning. Not because of the door, or the coffee thing, or even Janice. It was the extra step. The one in the stairwell. Every night. His boots would hit 10 steps between floor 2 and floor 3. But every blue-lit camera feed showed 9. He rewound the footage 3 times. On the last loop, at 3:13 a.m., the camera cut to static. When it came back, the manager's office door was closed again. He paused the screen. Zoomed in. A shadow stood inside. Arms too long. Head tilted. Facing the camera. Ben closed the laptop. Turned off the lights. and lay in the dark, listening, because somewhere, deep in the building, something else was awake, and it didn't need coffee either. Chapter 2. The one who signs in. Ben watched the clock hit 3:13 a.m., exactly when the cameras had glitched the night before, exactly when the shadow stood in the manager's office. He sat alone in the security feed room, 4th floor, surrounded by old CRT monitors stacked like tombstones. The whole building buzzed in low electric hum, fluorescence flickering just enough to feel like whispers. Marco knocked once on the door. Ben didn't turn. "You know that's not your post, right?" Marco asked. "Why does the camera cut at 3:13? Ben replied. "What camera?" Ben pointed at monitor 6. "Manager's office, floor 4. Marco squinted. "There's no feed for that room." "There was yesterday." "Not officially," Marco said, tone flat. "You should go back to mopping, Ben." Ben leaned forward, locked eyes. "Who is Wesley?" Marco didn't blink, didn't fidget, didn't answer. He just smiled, calm and cold, like someone listening to an inside joke. Then, without a word, he reached up and turned off monitor 6. And left. Ben waited until the steps faded, then turned the monitor back on. Static. But faintly, just for a moment, he thought he saw a hand against the glass. Too thin, too long, not quite human. He didn't go back to the mop bucket. Instead, he headed for the records room, quietest place in the whole facility. Floor 3A. No cameras there, no Marco, just miles of filing cabinets under freezing vents and dust-choked silence. He walked past row 19, then 20, then stopped. Someone was singing, very low, off-key, the sound of a man forgetting what a voice is supposed to do. Ben stepped closer. A figure stood hunched at a table, back turned, thumbing through an open file. Name tag glinting. Wesley. Ben cleared his throat. "Didn't think you were real." Wesley stopped. The air felt thick. He turned, slow, like bones cracking in reverse. Ben froze. The man's face was too smooth. No pores, no stubble, just stretched skin, pale and clean like it had been freshly printed. Eyes, too round. No white, just wet grey irises that didn't blink. "I've always been here," Wesley said. His voice sounded recorded, each word from a different tape. "You're not on the roster," Ben said. "The roster changes, but the shift is the shift." "What the hell does that mean?" Wesley closed the file. "Means you already clocked in." Ben stepped back. "You stay the hell away from me." Wesley tilted his head. "Already too late. You're part of the pattern now." He smiled, thin and bloodless. "You've seen it. The one extra step, the missing feed, the coffee no one drinks." Ben's voice dropped. "What are you?" Wesley blinked for the first time. When his eyes opened, they were black. "Night shift," he said. "The one that never ends." Ben turned and ran. The aisles stretched longer than they should. The exit sign flickered, twitching like a dying insect. He slammed through the stairwell door, 10 steps this time, and burst into the break room, panting. Janice was there, staring at the coffee pot again. Her reflection in the microwave door looked back a half second too late. "What's in the manager's office?" Ben demanded. She turned, slowly. "Why do you think it's locked?" she said. He backed toward the exit. "I'm done. I'm not coming back here tomorrow." Janice smiled, that same smile. "Tomorrow's already happening, Ben." Then she said it. "You're still here." He ran, through the cold corridor, down to the first floor, through the doors, out into the parking lot, and stopped, because the sky was still pitch black. No dawn, no stars, just empty air above. He looked at his phone. 3:13 a.m. still. He turned in a slow circle. The parking lot was full. Every car there, every shift worker's name on a windshield tag, even his. But the gate was locked. The keypad blinked red. And when he typed his code, access denied. From behind him, he heard it. Steps, not boots, not heels, bare feet, wet, slow. Ben didn't turn. He just whispered, "I didn't sign up for this." A voice behind him answered, "But you signed in." Chapter 3. Floor 5. The elevator shouldn't have opened. It was 3:13 a.m. again, still, and Ben had tried the button out of instinct more than hope. Beneath the usual floor options, something new had appeared. Just one glowing word. 5. No label, no override key, no beep when pressed, just the doors sliding open with a sound like something breathing out. He hesitated. The air inside the shaft smelled like metal and salt. No light, no reflection in the mirrored panel. Just himself. And even that was blurry. Ben stepped inside. The doors closed behind him with a clunk that felt final. He didn't press anything. The elevator moved anyway. No hum of motors, no flicker of lights. Just the sensation of sinking. He checked his phone. Still, 3:13 a.m. Battery now reading, shift in progress. When the doors opened, there was no floor, just darkness, thick, alive. But as he stepped forward, the world adjusted. A hallway emerged, soft grey walls, soft grey floor, everything coated in something like felt or ash. The lights here didn't flicker, they whispered. A soft, constant hiss, like breath just out of reach. At the end of the hall was a mirror, or maybe it was a window. Ben walked toward it and stopped, because what he saw wasn't his reflection. It was Wesley, but this version wasn't hunched, wasn't grinning. He was tall, clean, sharp-suited, standing with perfect posture. Behind him, an office, warm light, wooden desk, files stacked in a spiral. Behind that, nothing but black. Wesley placed a hand on the glass. "You made it," he said. Ben didn't move. "What the hell is this?" "Management," Wesley replied, "where the shift runs deepest." Ben glanced around. "There's no floor here." "Because it isn't above or below," Wesley said. "It's underneath." The hallway suddenly shrunk. Walls curved inward. Lights dimmed. The mirror became a door. It opened without a sound. Ben stepped inside. The office was warm, software safe in a way that made his stomach turn. A cup of tea steamed gently on the desk. No coffee, of course. Wesley gestured to the chair across from him. "You've been asking all the right questions," he said, "and now we ask one of our own." Ben crossed his arms. "I didn't agree to anything." "You did," Wesley said. "The moment you stayed past your first break. The moment you noticed the extra step. The moment you opened a locked door." He smiled. "You passed every test." Ben shook his head. "I'm not staying. I'm not this." He pointed to the walls, to the office with no exit. "This isn't real." Wesley leaned forward. "It's more real than the place you left behind." He tapped the folder on the desk. Ben's name was printed in perfect, bleeding ink. Wesley opened it. Inside, a photo of Ben. From today, from tomorrow, from 10 years from now. He was older. He looked just like Marco. Ben whispered, "What do you want from me?" "We want what you've always given," Wesley said. Awake eyes, clean floors, a little silence. He stood and circled the desk. In his hand, he held a new badge, black lettering. No name, just manager. Ben backed away. "No." Wesley tilted his head. "You've already forgotten, haven't you?" Ben blinked. Suddenly the hallway was gone. The elevator. Gone. The only thing outside the glass walls was a shifting fog, the colour of bruises. He turned. The door he came through was now a window. Inside it, the break room, Janice, the coffee pot, Marco leaning against the counter, smiling softly. Wesley stepped closer. "You can leave," he said. "But if you do, you won't remember this. You'll wake up mopping. Again, asking about coffee. Again, looking at clocks that never change." Ben's voice was quiet. "And if I stay?" Wesley smiled. "Then you'll never ask again." Ben looked down at his hands. They were shaking, but not from fear, from familiarity. This wasn't the first time. He'd held this badge before, dropped it, ran, forgot, and the shift had brought him back. He reached for the badge, paused, then looked up. "Why me?" Wesley didn't answer. He only said, "You were the only one who noticed." Chapter 4. Echo Protocol. Ben sat behind the desk. The manager's chair was warm. The room had no clock, no calendar, no air vents, just fog outside the window, and Wesley, standing behind him like a shadow with teeth. "This is the part where most forget," Wesley said. "Where they choose to." Ben didn't look at him. He stared at the file on the desk. His name, his photo, next to a note in red ink. ECHOREADY. "What does it mean?" Ben asked. Wesley stepped forward, placed a hand on the back of the chair. "It means this isn't your first time in the seat." Ben frowned. "So, I've done this before. Many times. The difference is whether you accept it this time." A whisper echoed from the wall behind the desk. It wasn't sound. It was language with no breath. Words that pressed into Ben's skull like wet fingertips. He flinched. "That's the protocol," Wesley said. "The building's true shift." The office lights dimmed to a dull orange, and for the first time, Ben noticed a mirror across from the desk. Or at least, he thought it was a mirror, because the man reflected there wasn't him. It was Marco, not smiling, not human. His eyes were dark, his reflection warped, mouth too wide, head just slightly angled wrong. Ben stood slowly. The image mirrored him again. Now it was Janice, then Wesley, then Ben again, but older, expressionless, empty-eyed. "What the hell is this?" he whispered. Wesley's voice was steady. "The shift needs anchors. It's not the building, it's the memory of the building. It loops, it feeds." Ben turned. "On what?" "On the ones who stay, the ones who watch, the ones who manage." Ben shook his head. "I didn't agree to this." "You did," Wesley said. "The first time you forgot." A low rumble rolled through the floor. The walls pulsed. Something behind them moved. Not fast, but certain. Ben stumbled back from the desk. "I'm not staying," he said. Wesley looked down. "You already are." Ben turned toward the window. Fog. Then, beyond it, the parking lot. He could see his car. He could see the front doors. He ran toward it, straight through the window, which opened like water, out into the dark corridor beyond. Footsteps followed, software steady, echoing. He sprinted down a hallway that shouldn't have existed. The file cabinets blinked in and out of focus. Signs melted into one another. Break room, basement. You left once. You came back. He burst into the stairwell. 10 steps. 12. 14. It didn't end. His breathing turned raw. He dropped the badge. It clattered on the metal steps and vanished. "Let me out," he screamed. From below, a door opened. Marco stepped out, smiling. "You're still on the clock, Ben." Ben turned. Behind him, Janice, coffee pot in her hand, full, but steaming black like oil. "No one ever finishes it," she said. "That's why the loop holds." Ben collapsed against the railing. The lights above flickered, then went out one by one. Only the lowest bulb stayed lit, a soft blue glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. He remembered everything. He remembered the first time he took the job, the first time he found floor 5, the first time he ran, and the first time he sat in the chair and said, "I'll watch it, just for one night." He remembered finishing the coffee, the only one who ever had. Wesley's voice returned, softer now. You were supposed to forget. You were supposed to reset. But now you remember. And that means you're not just the manager. You're the failsafe. The stairs cracked beneath Ben's feet. A final door opened behind him. No sign. No handle. Just light. A cold, white light that did not warm, did not blink. He stepped through and sat down again. Behind the desk, in the chair. The tea was gone. Now there was coffee. Fresh, black, waiting. Ben sipped once, bitter, burning, and said aloud, "Third shift in progress." Across the building, at 3:13 a.m., the monitors blinked. The cameras reset. The files rewrote themselves. And in the break room, the pot refilled on its own. Outside, the sun didn't rise. Not yet. Not until someone else took the job. Not until someone else noticed. And until then, Ben Dwyer never left. He just sat and managed and waited for the next one who asked about the coffee.